We're starting on Unit 6 today, which deals with the quadratic function. Today we are going to be doing transformations with the quadratic parent function. So looking right there above the table, here's the equation for the parent function. It's f of x equals x squared. So because of the square, that makes it quadratic. So what we're going to do first is we are going to substitute in values for x to fill in that table. So the x values we'll be using will be -3, -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, and 3.
That's how we started out in Unit 5.
Yes, the transformations we saw back of the square root functions will come back today. Okay, so now we are going to substitute all of those x values into that parent function equation. So if I put a -3 right here for x, we need to square the -3. So what is -3 times -3? 1. If I put the -2 in for x, we need to square it. So what is -2 times -2? 4. If I put the -1 in for x, what is -1 when you square it? 1.
Yeah, I'm right.
If I put the 0 in for x, what is 0 squared? 0. If I put in the 1 for x, what is 1 squared? 1. If I put in the 2 for x, what is 2 squared? 4. If I put in the 3 for x, what is 3 squared? 9. Now that we have the table of values, we're going to take those ordered pairs from that table and we are going to plot them on the coordinate grid out to the side. So the first one is -3, 9. So find -3, go up to 9. The next one is -2, 4. So find -2, go up to 4. We have -1, 1. So find -1, go up to 1. Then we have the origin at 0, 0. 1, 1. 2 goes up to 4. And 3 goes up to 9.
Wait.
Okay, all you do is plot the point.
Nah, but I was tripping. Kind of action. Stop talking about this stupid stuff.
We need to be respectful to one another. And you need to connect those points with a smooth curve. It's a U shape, so make sure it's rounded at the bottom. So it's not absolute value. So it should not be pointed like a V. So make sure it's rounded at the bottom. And that special shape is called a parabola. And you graph these back in Algebra 1. But for Algebra 2, we are going to be graphing them without a calculator. We're going to be using our transformations. So what we're doing today is no calculator.
Oh, man.
Now, we need to fill in all that information out to the side. And one thing I do need to point out, make sure you put arrows showing it would keep going up. Like the next point would be 416, -416. So make sure you put the arrow showing that parabola would keep going upward. Now the vertex. The vertex is the middle point. So this point right here is called the vertex. When you answer this question, you need to write that vertex as an ordered pair. So yes, that would be 0, 0. And we're going to jump down here to the bottom question where it's talking about the vertex and it's asking us if it's a maximum or minimum. So look at your vertex. Is this the highest point on the parabola or is it the lowest point on the parabola? Lowest. So if it's the lowest point, it is called the minimum. Second question asks us for the axis of symmetry. What does an axis of symmetry do? Yeah, it divides the graph in half. So it has to go right through that vertex. So if the vertex is the middle point, the axis of symmetry has to go through that vertex. Well, we're going to write it as a linear equation. So that dashed line is going through what axis? It is the y-axis, but what axis is it actually going through? It's going through the x-axis at what number? 0. So the equation for that axis of symmetry is x equals 0. Next question is for the domain. What does domain mean? X's. So, what does this arrow mean? Keeps going. What does this arrow mean? Keeps going. So if it keeps going left and it keeps going right, what would the domain be? This side would be negative infinity, and the right side would be positive infinity. Negative infinity, positive infinity, we will never have points at those two values, so they both get the parentheses using interval notation.
So that wouldn't be 0 because it's on the...
No, because 0 is just a halfway mark. We actually have x values smaller than 0. So this left arrow keeps going to the left. It keeps going, keeps going, keeps going. The range, what does range mean?
The Y.
The y value. So when you're trying to find the y value, you look at your vertex. So when you look at your vertex, what is the y value of the vertex? 0. And what's the top y value? Infinity. So the bottom y value is 0. The top y value is infinity. So our range is going to be 0 to infinity.
Yeah, I thought that's how it would be with the x-axis.
You thought what?
I thought that's how it would be with the x-axis also.
No, the range is always y value. So you want the y value of the vertex.
I was talking about, I thought the domain would be 0 to infinity too because it's so...
The domain, if it was 0 to infinity, that means we wouldn't have that left arm over there. Because if you're saying it starts at 0, you're saying this is the first point. So we actually have points farther to the left on the negative side. So the domain is negative infinity to positive infinity, and the range is 0 to infinity. Now we do have a point at 0, so 0 gets a square bracket. We will never have a point at infinity, so infinity gets a parenthesis. And the next question asks us for the zeros. Do you know what the word zeros means? Where it means the yeah, it's the x-intercept. Do you see the word zeros? It's just asking you for the x-intercept. So where does that parabola touch the x-axis?
0.
At 0. Okay, the next thing I want you to do, I want you to find some room in the margin of your paper somewhere. And we are going to write down the generic format for a quadratic function. So here's the vertex form for a quadratic function. Y equals A. Inside the parentheses, we'll have x minus h. In order for it to be quadratic, we'll have to have the 2. And at the back, we'll have the plus k. So we've seen A before, we've seen H before, we've seen K before. We are going to review what those three numbers do.
A goes up and down.
What does the A value make it do? Stretch,
Shrink or reflect.
shrink, or reflect over the x-axis. So it's going to do the same thing with our quadratic parent function that it did with square roots and absolute value functions. And for the H stands for horizontal, so the number inside the parentheses moves this left or right. And just like we saw with square root functions and absolute value, if it's inside the parentheses, it does the opposite of what you would think. So if it's a negative inside the parentheses, which way would it move it? To the right, and if it's a positive, it moves it to the left. The number at the back, what does the k value make it do? Up or down. So if it's a positive, it's going to shift it up. If it's a negative, it's going to shift it down. Now that we've remembered what all these transformations do, we need to recognize what is the pattern. How do you quickly draw that without creating a table or putting it in the calculator? So what you have to do first is plot your vertex. So that is the first thing. Find your vertex. Once you locate your vertex, you'll go over 1. And our quadratic equation has to be squared. So if you go over 1, What is 1 squared?
1.
1. So if you go over 1, you go up 1. And you do that to both sides. So over 1, up 1, over 1, up 1. If I go over 2, what is 2 squared? 4. So if I go over 2, I have to go up 4. So over 2, up 4, over 2, up 4. You do it to both sides. If I go over 3, what is 3 squared? 9. So if I go over 3, how much do I have to go up? 9. So go over 1, up 1, over 2 and up 4, over 3 and up 9. So just remember to square. So if I were to go over 4, how much would I have to go up? 16. We don't have room to do that, exactly. Okay, so let's look at number 1. Okay, looking at the equation for number 1. What is the plus 2 at the back going to make it do? Up 2. So from the origin, we need to move it up 2. So here's the new vertex. So instead of at the origin, shift it up 2 units. To get your point, go over 1. What is 1 squared? 1. So over 1, up 1. Over 1, up 1. Do it to both sides, from the vertex. Go back to the vertex. If I go over 2, what is 2 squared? 4. So over 2, up 4. Over 2, up 4. If I go over 3, what is 3 squared? 9. Do I have enough room to go right 3 and up 9 from the vertex? No. So those are the only points that will fit. Go ahead and connect them with a smooth curve. Make sure it's rounded at the bottom. And make sure you put your arrows showing it keeps going up. And the vertex is that middle point. So what is the vertex written as an ordered pair?
0, 2.
0, 2. Now we're going to answer the question at the bottom. We have to figure out, is this the maximum or is it the minimum? So looking at the vertex, is this the highest point on the parabola or is it the lowest point? So if it's the lowest point, would that make it the maximum or the minimum? Minimum. Axis of symmetry has to go through that vertex. I'm going to draw in my axis of symmetry. You don't have to. And this axis of symmetry is going through what axis? It's the y-axis, but it's going through the x-axis at what number? 0. It is the x-axis at 0. Now, let me go back over here. I did not mention this, but the domain for every single parabola is always negative infinity to positive infinity. The domain is always negative infinity to positive infinity for every single parabola, whether it points up or it points down. The domain is always negative infinity to positive infinity. That will never ever change.
Thank you.
So,
Hey, you saw another way of how to look upon the axis of symmetry.
okay, so the domain for every single parabola is always, always negative infinity to positive infinity for every single one. What does the range mean? The y value. So look at your vertex. What is the bottom y value? 2. What is the top y value? Infinity. So our range is going to be 2 to infinity. The word root. You should have learned that back in Algebra 1. Hopefully you remember that root means what? The x-intercept. So there's, yes, all of those words mean the same. If you see the word zeros, it means x-intercept. If you see the word roots, it means x-intercept. If you see the word solutions, it means x-intercept. So the x-intercept, well, where does that parabola touch the x-axis?
Nowhere.
It doesn't. So that one would be no solution. Now 0 is a common mistake. So 0 is right here. Does that parabola actually touch the x-axis at 0? No, so don't put 0, it's no solution. Next one, number 2. What does the minus 4 at the back make the function do?
Go down 4.
Down 4. So from the origin, move it down 4. Then make your points. If I go over 1, what is 1 squared? 1. So over 1, up 1. Over 1, up 1. If I go over 2, what is 2 squared?
4.
4. So over 2, up 4. Over 2, up 4. If I go over 3, what is 3 squared? 9. So over 3, up 9. Over 3, up 9.
Ooh, on this one we actually got a solution.
Yes, this one will have solution.
Wait, are you go 9 from there?
Yes, we have enough room to go up 9. Make sure it's rounded at the bottom. Make sure it's a U shape. Make sure you have the arrow showing it keeps going up. Now for the vertex, that middle point right here. What is the vertex written as an ordered pair? 0, negative 4 is correct. And looking at the vertex, is this the highest point on the parabola or is it the lowest point? So if it's the lowest point, would it be the maximum or the minimum? Minimum. The axis of symmetry has to go through that middle point. And this line is cutting through which axis?
Negative 4.
The x-axis at what number?
Negative 1.
Because x-axis
Oh, it's 0.
0.
It's always 0.
It's not always 0. We will have some examples here on number 3 where it won't be at 0. Same thing with number 4. It's just coincidence so far that all of these have been x equals 0. Not always will it be x equals 0. Even with minimums and maximums. Domain. What is the domain for all parabolas? Negative infinity to positive infinity. What does range mean? The y value. So look at your vertex. What is the bottom y value? Negative 4. And up at the top, what is the top y value? Infinity. So our range is negative 4 to infinity. And what does the term solutions mean? X-intercept.
So negative 2, 2.
Yeah, negative 2 and positive 2.
On that one,
You can write them out separately, or you can write it as x equals plus or minus 2.
Or you can do negative 2, become a negative 2. Like
You can write it separately, yes, or you can do the plus or minus, either one.
No, like
So make sure you see.
like it's like
Like you want to write as an ordered pair?
Yeah.
You can write them as ordered pairs, yeah. Next one, number 3.
You got,
What is the plus 2? We don't have to double distribute here. All we have to do is look at the equation.
okay.
Okay, so what does the plus 2 on the inside make it do? Left 2. So from the origin, move it left 2. Get your points. If I go over 1, what is 1 squared? So over 1, up 1 on both sides. If I go over 2, what is 2 squared? 4. So over 2, up 4. Over 2, up 4. If I go over 3, what is 3 squared? 9. So over 3, up 9. Over 3, up 9. There's the vertex. What is the vertex as an ordered pair? Negative 2, 0. And looking at that vertex, is it the highest point on the parabola or is it the lowest point? So if it's the lowest point, is it the maximum or minimum? Minimum. The axis of symmetry has to go through that vertex. So now the axis of symmetry moves. So which axis is that axis of symmetry going through? Going through the x-axis at what number? Minimum. negative 2, so x equals negative 2. And what's the domain for all parabolas?
Negative infinity.
Negative infinity to positive infinity. The range, look at your vertex. What is the bottom y value?
Negative
0. And what's the top y value? Infinity. So the range is 0 to infinity. And what does the word zeros mean?
2. X-side.
The x-intercept. So where does it touch the x-axis?
Negative 2.
Negative 2. So x equals negative 2. Okay, I want you to graph number 4 and fill out the information out to the side of the graph. So Q2 number 4. What does the minus 2 on the inside make it do? Right 2. So from the origin, you should have moved to the right 2. Plot your points. If I go over 1, what is 1 squared? Over 1 up 1. If I go over 2, what is 2 squared? So over 2 up 4. Over 2 up 4. If I go over 3, what is 3 squared? 9 over 3 up 9. Over 3 up 9. What is the vertex where it has an ordered pair? 2, 0. Is it the highest point on the parabola or the lowest point? So if it's the lowest point, is it the maximum or minimum? Minimum. The axis of symmetry has to go through that middle point. So what's the equation for that line?
X equals 2.
X equals 2. What's the domain for all parabolas?
Negative infinity to positive.
Negative infinity to positive infinity. For the range, what is the bottom y value?
0.
0, what's the top y value?
Negative. Infinity.
Infinity, so that's 0 to infinity. What does the word solutions mean?
X.
The x-intercept. So what is the x-intercept?
2.
X equals 2. Questions on the front? Okay, on the back.
Hey, what's going on?
Yes.
Solutions always be the same.
The axis of symmetry and the solution. No, not always. That's only if the vertex is on the x-axis. All right, number 5. What does the 2 out front make it do?
The first one?
The first one. What does this one make it do? Stretch by a factor of 2. What does the minus 2 at the back make it do?
Go down.
Down 2. So from the origin, we need to move it down 2. And when we stretch it vertically by a factor of 2, instead of going up 1, we need to double it. And how much will we go up?
Up 2.
Up 2. So instead of going up 1, we need to go up 2. So go over 1, up 2. What is 2 squared? 4. So instead of going up 4, we need to double it. And how much do we have to go up?
6.
It's 8.
Oh.
Over
double
2,
it.
up 8.
I'm tripping.
Locate your vertex. What is the vertex written as an ordered pair?
We can go 3.
0, negative 2. The question was asking when there was 3. What is 3 squared? 9. If I double that, how much would I have to go up? 18. Do we have enough room to go up 18? No, so we can't do that one. Good question. Now, looking at the vertex, is it the highest point on the parabola or is it the lowest point? Lowest point. If it's the lowest point, is it the maximum or minimum? Minimum. The axis of symmetry has to go through that vertex. So what's the equation for the axis of symmetry?
0.
Not just 0. X equals 0. What's the domain for all parabolas? Negative infinity to positive infinity. The range, looking at the vertex, what's the bottom line value? Negative 2, and what's the top line value? Infinity. So the range is negative 2 to infinity. What does the word roots mean? X-intercept. So where's the x-intercept? Negative 1 and positive 1. So I'm going to write that as x equals plus or minus 1. Number 6. What does the negative out front make it do? Reflect. What does the 3 out front make it do?
Go down.
Stretch. Yeah, stretch vertically by a factor of 3. And what does the minus 1 inside the parentheses make it do?
Right 1.
Right 1. So from the origin, we need to move it right 1. Instead of going up, which direction do we have to go? Down. But instead of going up 1, how many do we have to go down? 3. So over 1, down 3. Over 1, down 3. If I go over 2, what is 2 squared? 4. If I triple that, what's 4 times 3? 12. Do we have enough room to go over 2 and down 12? No. So those are the only 3 points that will fit.
3 points make a
What's the vertex? 1, 0. What's the equation for the axis of symmetry? X equals 1. What's the domain for all parabolas? Negative infinity to positive infinity. Now, to the range. When it points down, you'll have to be careful because looking at the vertex, what is the top y value?
1.
The y value? 0. And what's the bottom y value? Negative infinity. So for integral notation, the smaller number has to go first. So what do we put first, 0 or negative infinity? Negative infinity. So the points down, be careful when you write your range. Negative infinity has to go first because it's smaller. What does the word zeros mean? X-intercept. So what is the x-intercept? X equals 1. Now this time, look at your vertex. Is it the highest point on the parabola or is it the lowest point? So if it's the highest point, is it the maximum or minimum? Maximum. If the point's down, that vertex is the maximum. Number 7.
This one you gotta go over 3 and up 2.
Yeah, the minus 3 makes it move which direction?
Right.
Right 3, and the plus 2 at the back? Up 2. So from the origin, go right 3 and up 2. Yeah, this one needs to go down. But instead of going down 1, how many do we have to go down? 2. So over 1 and down 2. Over 1, down 2. Instead of going up 4, how many would we have to go down?
8.
8, so over 2, down 8. Over 2, down 8. Do I have enough room to go down 8 feet? No, so those are the only points that will fit. What is the vertex? 32. What is the equation for that axis of symmetry? Has to be an equation, so we need the x equals 3. What's the domain for all parabolas? Negative infinity to positive infinity. And if it points down, be careful when you write your range. So looking at the vertex, what is the top y value? 2, what is the bottom y value? Negative infinity, which one is smaller? Negative infinity needs to go first. So negative infinity to positive 2. What does the word solution
We
mean?
like it positive 2, awesome.
The x-intercepts, so the x-intercepts are 2 and 4. Make sure you have both answers. So x equals 2, x equals 4.
It's max.
Yes, why is it the maximum? Because it's the highest point.
Oh.
Yeah, and because it points downward, so that when it points down, the vertex is always the maximum. Okay, I want you to do number 8. So graph number 8, fill in the question. Number 8.
You got halves, I don't know. How you do fractions?
You just cut it in half. What's half of 4? What's half of 4? Yeah, that's fine. Yes, all those things.
That's a 9. 4. 1.5. Seems like you were on that with me.
After every bit of things, there's something. What does the minus 2 at the back make it do?
Go down 2.
Down 2. What does the 1/2 out front make it do?
Down, I'll be
Straight.
over that shit.
Straight vertically by a factor of 1/2. Instead of going up 1, what's half of 1? 1/2. So go over 1, up a half. Over 1, up a half. If I go over 2, what's 2 squared? 4. What's half of 4? 2. So you go over 2, up 2, over 2, up 2. If I go over 3, what is 3 squared? 9. What's half of 9? 4.5. If I go over 4, what is 4 squared? 16. What's half of 16? 8. Do I have enough room to go over 4 and up 8?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's on the same line. Not let me see this over. This is a shrink. Vertical shrink by a factor of 1.5. What was the vertex? 0, -2. What is the equation for that axis of symmetry? X equals 0. What's the domain for all parabolas? Negative infinity to positive infinity. And the range, what is the bottom y value? -2. What is the top y value? Infinity. And what's the word roots mean? X-intercept. So where's the x-intercept? Yes, -2 and +2. I'm going to write that as x equals plus or minus 2. And looking at the vertex, is it the highest point or lowest point? So is it the maximum or minimum? Minimum. Okay, that's all for the graphing. The last two questions, we're going backwards. Now they're giving us the graph. We have to write the equation that produces that graph. So for number 9, make sure that your answers are in vertex form. So it's going to be f of x equals a. Inside the parentheses, we have x minus 8. Needs to be squared. And the plus k at the back.
So it'll be inclined to the way.
Now let me tell you what the two most common mistakes are when students write the equations. They can find a, they can find h, they can find k. The two most common mistakes I see is they forget that an equation has to have an equal sign. You can put y equals or f of x equals, but an equation has to have the equal sign. The next thing is if you have a parabola, this has to be a square. So make sure what's inside the parentheses is squared to make it quadratic. So those are the two mistakes I see most often. Okay, so let's write that equation. So to write that equation, here is a point, here is a point. So our equation has to start with f of x equals or y equals either one. And notice from the vertex they went right one and down one. So what is the a value?
No, it's normal. It's
Negative 1. Since it's pointing down, it has to be negative. Now, inside the parentheses, from the origin, our vertex moved to the right how many? 3. So how do I show it moved to the right 3?
Minus 3. X minus 3.
X minus 3. Has to have the opposite. It's going to the right, it has to have a minus 3. And don't forget, it has to be squared. So to make it a parabola, it has to be squared. Don't forget the square.
And plus 2.
And yeah, after it moved right 3, it went up 2. So we need to have the plus 2 at the back. I want you to write the equation for number 10. Here's the vertex. And here is a point so that you can see the a value. equals or y equals, so make sure an equation has an equal sign, so make sure you have one or the other, y equals or f of x equals. For the a value, from the vertex, they went right 1 and up 3, so what is the a value?
1/3. Wait.
3.
3. I squeezed it.
And from the origin, it moved to the left 1 unit. So how would we show it moved to the left 1 unit?
X plus 1.
X plus 1,
But how'd you get the 3?
and it needs to be squared. How did we get the 3? From the vertex, they went right 1, up 3. We normally go up just 1. So 1 times 3. They were all 3. You're welcome. And then it moved down how many?
4.
4. So what do I have to have at the back?
-4.
Minus